welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about the most common mistakes that I see people make on IG stories. Now if you're one of those people that loves to scroll through people's stories, you will know from a user perspective what points are frustrating. But from somebody that is actually creating the story, sometimes we don't actually realize the things that we're doing is actually making it hard for people to engage with our content. So I've got 5 things today that I want to share with you guys that I think will help you when you're creating your stories to make them A, more engaging, and B, to lead your audience somewhere, right? So if that's something for you, then stay tuned. So the first mistake that I see constantly is that when people put up a story and they're tagging somebody or a place or a business or whatever, you're actually tagging too close to the edge. So if you ever try to tap on something and it just takes you to the next photo, and then you go back and you try and tap on it again and it still takes you to the next photo, right? So to me, that is a dead lead, right? It's a dead tag. You basically need to move everything in a little bit closer. As a general rule of thumb, I would go in at least 1.5 centimeters from the edge, because then that makes the tappable link tappable rather than tapping on it and it going to the next story. I know for myself, when I've gone to tap on something and it doesn't take me to the link, I try it 2 or 3 times, I get frustrated, it doesn't get me there, I leave. I literally like swipe across altogether and I leave that person's series of stories. I don't even try and look at the next one because I'm already annoyed, okay? So the second thing, number 2, that I want to talk about is location tags, right? Whilst it's great to have a location tag on where you've been or where you are, location tags are not shareable. So say even for us at our restaurant, if someone does a location tag at the restaurant, I can't actually share that. So what we need you to do is do an @ tag. So you literally type in @ and then whoever, the business, the person, whoever it is that you're trying to get their attention and hoping that they will repost. Okay, so point number 3 is about stories that go over 15 seconds. So if you have a story that goes over 15 seconds and you've just tagged the person or the brand once, then we can't actually share the whole story. So you might be talking about how great you love the restaurant or how much you enjoy wearing the brand's jeans, you know, and it might go over 45 seconds, so 3 stories. But if you've just tagged that brand once on that first story, we can't share. It doesn't share in a series, it only shares one. So you have to make sure you're tagging that brand or that person in every single story. Now, the reason why this is very important is if you're hoping to get shared by that brand, then you need to give them a logical reason to repost. So if you're talking about how great their jeans are over 45 seconds, but yet you're only allowing them to share 15 seconds, it doesn't make sense for them to share that. So why would they share it? Because when they share it on their page, their audience doesn't understand 15 seconds of your, of your compliment, really. So think about making every single post shareable. Now, point number 4 that I want to make, right? Now, talking videos have become increasingly popular because they're a great way to connect with your audience. They're a great way to be real and authentic, and you can't really rehearse them too much, right? It's just like you put up the phone, you're talking, and whatever you've done is what you post. But be mindful that most people watch videos on mute, because they're either on the train or at work, and sound isn't always something that they can afford. So when you think about that a lot of content is viewed in mute, you need to have things that give it context. So when I say things that give it context, is like text or a little bit of background info. So like say last week I was at a hotel launch, right? If I just got to the launch and just posted up Insta stories, you guys wouldn't really understand. So my very first story for when I arrived was, hey guys, we're at a hotel launch today, right? That was the little text at the front of the video, at the beginning of the video. So it gives you guys a bit of context as to why we're here, what we're doing here, right? And understanding the rest of the content after that. Now the other strategy around watching videos on mute is also you could even, like, if it's really something that requires sound, put that the emoji in, or sorry, that GIF in that says sound on, or please watch this with sound. You know, things like, even when people like watch to the end because the best bit's at the end, right? It sounds obvious, but sometimes we need those obvious call to actions so that our audience knows what to do. Now the last thing, point number 5 that I want to make is that when you put up your Instagram stories, there is not enough call to action. Now it's one thing to just put up something and just have people watch it, right? I get that. We all, you know, not every single story needs a call to action, but most of your stories should have a call to action. And when I say call to action, it's just something that will create engagement for you, because the more people that chat to you behind the scenes, the more people that engage with you in messaging, in you know, interacting in the polls, that's all part of that, the engagement algorithm for Instagram, right? So if they're seeing that, oh, this story is actually getting a lot of traction, it'll show it to more people when it puts it in the top view for you, okay? So use things like, okay, so most times I can speak without a script. Sometimes I have a mental blank. Okay, so the things that I want you guys to consider or try are things like the poll feature, right? Just ask simple questions like, which do you guys prefer, the long dress or the short dress, right? It encourages people to interact with you. Things like ask questions, you know, like ask me anything. They're great. I love it when people do that, because it's like, okay, you're not talking about, you know, your weight, but I'd love to know about how you lost your weight 6 months ago, right? Just ask anything, right? And it encourages conversation, which is what Instagram is looking for. Instagram is looking for authentic ways to engage with your audience. Okay, so there are 5 things. 5 things that I think are some of the biggest mistakes that people make on their Instagram stories. So I want you guys to give those things a try, because what you don't want is for people to hop onto your story and go, oh, this is so hard to use, or so every time she posts something up, I can never tap on it, or this, like, I just don't even get what she's posting about, right? So things like that will add to your engagement. And if people are finding anything hard to use or anything hard to understand, you and I are all the same. Human nature is we tend to veer away from it. And that's not what we want, right? We want people to keep coming back, because every time I watch Jenny's stories, they're so easy to understand, they're clear, they're concise, you know, all those things contribute to having more followers, to having more engagement, to having more people interact with us, and that's what we want. And lastly, if you guys enjoyed this, please follow, turn on post notifications. We're literally aiming to give you a few videos every week, just to give you guys ideas and tips to help you along the way. If there's anything you want to know, anything you want me to cover, drop them below. I'll be happy to answer them. See you, bye.